Alright, gotta make a short little announcement first before I get to the real video. Anyway, I hate to do this shit, but, you know, people do this. They post, there's a couple of videos posted calling me a liar because I have the N.D. Clark video with 1 star that I did 3 days ago, 1 starred it. You know, and therefore they're applying their absolute standards saying, there, I lied because I said I don't 1-star videos. You know, really, you know, I could say I walk a mile to work and what, it's 9/10 of a mile, and so I'm a liar, right? Okay, it's just bullshit, this absolute nonsense. I mean, it's in a video, I explained the 1 star to N.D. Clark. I was just saying, here, you want to 1 star all my videos? I just 1 star all your videos, tit for tat, bullshit. Just pointing out how silly that would be. You know, so whatever on that one. And then the liar thing, they said, okay, you know, I said I called Jesus Freak and Venom Fang X, maybe I used the word liar, and they found another video where, you know, in the middle of the To Be Serious thing, when she has the Photoshop image, the obviously electronically manipulated image, and she's saying she didn't electronically manipulate it. You know, yes, I used the word liar in there. So whatever. You know, you want to give yourselves a round of applause because you proved something. No, you proved absolutely nothing. You proved your desperation. You proved your pettiness. There really isn't going to be a jury in the world that wants themselves to be held to that standard, the standard you're trying to hold me to. So you lose, you fail. It really is just... You're just demonstrating how silly you people really are. The facts will demonstrate that, you know, 99% of my ratings have been 5-star ratings. The facts will demonstrate out of 950 videos, you know, 0.01% have been, you know, I've used the word liar, or 0.02% at the most. You know, whatever. So fuck you. Really petty bullshit. Alright, on to the real video. It's a response video to that Veritas guy that I like for no really good reason. Just like he's an appealing character. What can I say? He speaks good, and he's kind of logical and stuff, and he's just, yeah, I like him. So anyway, the non-religious guy. You know, the subject is morality, and, you know, we've been over the subjective crap before, but there's, you know, it's been a while.
So anyway, to me, it's obvious. You know, when you look at morality, it's just you're building a construct of values. Okay, so it's all about how we appreciate the value of something. And the whole life-death thing, the whole human thing is all, you can't ignore the fact that we have to basically build a social contract, something that we can just function in, that really doesn't have anything to do with any absolute truth, doesn't have to do with any logical truth. It's just a construct to make it practical for us to live here. I mean, obviously there's people, all of us could say, well, that asshole deserves to be dead, you know, but we can't act on those appreciations or those evaluations of the value of just exterminating some fuckers, because we have this social contract that protects us from other people thinking the exact same thing about ourselves. And so yet, you know, so that part of the deal just can't be part of any philosophical discussion because it's just a matter of practicality. So you have a democracy or whatever kind of government, and you write some rules about how human beings interact with each other and how they treat each other. But that really doesn't have to do anything to do with morality or ethics. So the real deal is how do you define these values? And to me, there's important words, and we can talk about words. You know, there's the word productivity, and you know the word connected to that is sort of the word efficiency, and the word connected to efficiency would be a word like waste. And so you could obviously, I think it would be obvious to any person that they could say, yeah, waste. Waste is a bad thing. It's a value. It's a thing we can say that is something worth eliminating. Waste is stupid. Waste is waste. You know, waste is inefficient and it's unproductive. So if we can find waste in a system, yeah, let's get rid of the waste. Another concept would be this idea of fairness and defining it. But you know, that's a tough one, just because that really, you have to already define some values to get to there. You do with waste to some extent too, but I think most people could agree on some things that are they're worth getting rid of. You know, unnecessary pain and suffering or whatever, that we could just say that's waste and let's get rid of that. And then a lot of what we're going to define as how people should behave in circumstances isn't so much about the absolutes as it is the principles, and those are going to be defined by probabilities. I mean, what's the likelihood of your action producing a certain consequence or result, and also determining what's an acceptable risk. You know, that's all part of that equation. And so when you're going to define a morality, you have to sort of accept the fact that you're not doing it in some sort of absolute sense, because you don't have the crystal ball. You can't tell what all the permutations are of something. You can only detect the likelihoods and probabilities. But there's nothing. I mean, the objective is just to be productive, to be unwasteful, to be efficient in how you interact. I mean, to me, that's got to be part of the definition of morality or ethics as a human being. And the value that's being exchanged is somehow this value of pain and pleasure. That's the commodity that's being thrown around in all our interactions. That's the thing that has the real value. I mean, a diamond is worth something because some asshole has to break his back or lose his life to dig it out of the ground. I mean, there's always an equation of investment in something, and the investment is work, tedium, irritation, unpleasantness, something that has to be invested to give it value. So to go to the acceptable risk part, because I sort of want to just funnel this into the population control kind of what the hell are we doing? Keep investing in this train that's rolling down the tracks called humanity. Because that's an issue that nobody wants to touch. I mean, nobody wants to come up with any kind of proposal that's rational or reasonable about how we deal with unsustainable population growth, which isn't going to just go away. You know, unless you make everybody rich tomorrow, unless you somehow can float all these boats really quickly, it's not going away. It has to go away because there's some sort of social policy or some sort of initiative imposed or some sort of something. But the meme, the idea itself of restraining population just isn't flourishing in the environments where population is growing. And what are people thinking when they're having kids? I mean, they're accepting a risk. They're saying, okay, I want something. What they want apparently is unconditional love. They want something to play with. They want something to be committed to, so it focuses their life, because they need something to focus their life apparently, or they need some sort of, it's a disciplining obligation. Somehow they think they need that. There's all, I can't explain it obviously as somebody who had really never had any passion to have a kid. Certainly for some people, I guess it's just an ego thing, like somehow my kid is going to be an extension of me, and logically, if you look at the real world, that's not the way it works. People don't reproduce themselves very consistently. They reproduce people that are very different from themselves, so that doesn't work either. And so then, but what are people accepting as a risk? I mean, there's the risk of the kid being born defective or broken or some other thing. There's the risk that it'll be born perhaps not completely passionate about this whole thing it's been injected to, the whole idea of being born into a fucked up world with fucked up obligations and fucked up responsibilities and a fucked up system that it didn't create, that somebody else was invested in or saw purpose in, but that they don't. I mean, there's plenty of people who feel rather alienated from this culture and this world they exist in. It's not something natural to them. It's not something comforting or generally pleasing. They're sort of battling with their life. Their life is a part of the obstacle to get over or through is just finding some way to be comfortable enough to survive. And that's a risk all these people are accepting. And so for some arbitrary payback, I mean, some psychological pleasure that they're receiving, they're accepting the risk of imposing this thing called life on somebody else. And they can't guarantee that life. They can't guarantee the quality of it. And then part of the scenario is what they're also guaranteeing is the person they're imposing the life on, they're also going to be imposing death on. They're not going to, their child isn't going to live forever. They're basically, it's a death sentence as soon as you're born. It just takes maybe 99 years for the sentence to be imposed, but it's imposed eventually. And it's kind of you can look at it a lot of ways, but yeah, it's kind of silly to say, I'm going to create a life that's going to sit on death row for 99 years, basically. And it all depends on how wonderful you think death row is. But that's it. It's all this perception crap. And I would argue, I suppose, that there's not a whole lot of thought that goes into any of this shit. People just keep reacting and acting on emotion, and nobody's obliging anybody to take any of these basic fundamental decisions like, shall I reproduce, seriously. I mean, people are just allowed to just, on one day say, oh yeah, I feel like it, I want it, I need it. And but there's no obligation to scrutinize the depth of that need, the extent of the responsible thought that went behind it. I mean, you're basically imposing life is serious business. It's as serious as imposing death. You can't run away from it. It's part of the responsibility of being moral and ethical, is to have some appreciation for the impact of your actions. And unfortunately, we allow people to be very immoral in the sense that they don't even take the first step of morality, which is to at least be thoughtful. So I think that's about it. Out of time.